Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
Meta AI is the personal AI to help you with whatever you need. Plus, it meets you where you are. Not only is Meta AI now an app, but it's also on the apps you already know and love. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Plus the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. It's easy to access wherever you are. So whether you're talking or texting, Meta AI is convenient to use throughout your day. Experience our newest AI that's tailored to you by downloading the Meta AI app. Try the Meta AI app today on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Nurses, are you tired of spending weeks or even months finding the perfect job that matches your specialty with your ideal shift and salary? LinkedIn has improved your job search experience. Search by specialty, the shift you want to work, and the salary you want to make. Go to linkedin.com/nurses and begin searching today. That's linkedin.com/nurses.
Note, side effects may include less time finding the perfect job, working a shift that you love with a salary that can take you to St. Thomas, Jamaica, and continuous smiling because of how simple this process was.
Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised.
3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome back, Criminal Mischief Nation, to another episode, a bonus episode of Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Branden. I am Branden of that duo with the great Carolyn Osorio. As always, Carolyn, thank you for showing up again. How are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
Great. Congratulations are in order. Big weekend for your family. I hope everything went well.
It went amazing. It was so everything you would have ever wanted. It was just all the hard work.
When you say that to me, I think Bruce Springsteen and Derek Jeter show up to my daughter's wedding. Is that what you mean? Is that everything?
I mean, no, just like the vibe and the feeling. No, but seriously, when I was gonna start off my mom's speech of like, I am convinced now that the Osorios can survive the zombie apocalypse after, creating this wedding, because that's what it feels like,
Right.
And because we didn't have like caterers or like my daughter and I were doing the flowers, and it was just like, it's really homespun, but in all the best ways. And like, anyway, I don't want to go on and on about it.
Yes, because congratulations. I'm glad it went off.
Thank you.
And that everyone's happy.
Everyone's so happy.
That's
thank you. So
that's
thank
terrific.
You.
Well, now let's get into some murder. So
I'm gonna bop you.
So, in the intervening week here, I did a bunch of research of my own into Spillman for kind of the Devil Within's spin on his case, and this guy was we know he was just a monster and a lunatic and very damaged and
very
and awful, but
and unapologetic. Unapologetic.
Yep. And they got him. So let's talk about how they got him.
Okay.
So there were witnesses. Like one thing was they saw his truck pull. Someone saw a truck pull away. Correct.
Yeah. So what was cool is that they published. They did a news story on obviously this double homicide hits this, small town, like a ton of bricks, like a nuclear bomb drop. And the horrific nature of this crime was just shocking beyond anything anyone there had ever seen. Right. And so, there was a news report that this happened. And then, two teenagers who were coming home from a date past this elementary school that was by the home of the victims, and they were like, what is this black truck with this roll bar doing there? And so they were like, hey, this could be important, and they came forward, and then so did, and that put the time frame of like 11:30 because he had to get her home by 11:30, so the time really stuck out in their mind that he didn't want to bring his date home late. So then separate from that, this VFW, him parked there, and this officer putting two and two together of like, hey, this is really close to the victims' homes, the Huffman's homes, and so there's probably not a coincidence that this guy was there and he was acting really weird, right? And
Yeah.
so then he came forward, and so that helped them put that trail together. And then they're thinking, wait a second, we already checked this VFW dumpster. Let's check it again,
And what do they find?
right? They found the knife.
That matched the
It
set
garbage.
from the house, the kitchen knife.
But what was amazing is that it got dumped in
Yep.
between the time that they checked it in the morning time and the afternoon time. And the way that it slid into the groove,
Yep. Allowed them
the
to find it.
knife was there.
Covered in
Isn't
blood.
that crazy?
It's crazy. Covered in blood, victim's blood, and matching the set that the rest of the other like seven or eight of
Yeah.
those knives
Like Empress Steel.
were in the butcher block, like on
Yeah.
the fucking kitchen counter, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So,
Yeah. So they knew that he was in their sights, and then they found out that, oh, wait a second, he is a suspect in Penny's murder, that they
right.
had no idea that he was in their town. They weren't alerted, like, hey, this guy is, we think he's good for this, but, they had no idea that he was there operating.
So this was in the mid 90s where the death penalty was still very much on the table.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, well, for all of his bravado, for all of his I'm a werewolf, uh he confessed to everything when he saw when he could get the fucking needle, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so to avoid
yeah,
that, he admitted to the three murders.
he did. But I
Yep.
think also part of him too was like, he wanted to be Ted Bundy. He wanted to be a massive serial killer. That was his, that's what he wanted to do. And so I think part of it, and he was like talking in prison or jail,
Yeah, he told his
talking
cellmate.
about his crimes.
He told his cellmate he wanted to be the world's greatest serial killer.
Yeah. So I think that like I think he wanted he wanted it to be known what he did. And what's ironic is that most people they don't know about this case. They don't know about him,
Right.
which is great because it's like the reverse of what he actually wanted.
I don't remember if you mentioned that he had an earlier arrest for rape, but the charges were dropped.
Um
Is that in
he
episode one of this?
well there were instances where he was yeah, I don't remember the specifics of that, but he had a long history, juvenile record of these burglaries,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Kid,
and he did go away for a sexual assault of some kind, and
right.
was and
He and a
then yeah,
friend were arrested for like a gang rape or something in 93, but maybe the victim wouldn't testify or something and the charges were
yeah. I
dropped.
mean, he had such a history, but not of murder, you know.
Right. Oh, right, right. But
So
what I keep coming back to is, and especially with his cellmate that he would talk about wanting to be the world's greatest serial killer, he also said that he imagined himself transforming into a werewolf before he committed these murders.
yeah, and that he engaged in vampirism is what they
Vampirism.
call it.
Yes.
Vampirism, yeah. And he admitted to cannibalism as well.
And necrophilia. Yikes. I read a thing on him that they think he went back and exhumed one of his victims.
Penny,
Yeah,
Penny,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
To have sex with the corpse and then bury her again.
yeah. He wanted to be Ted Bundy. I mean, that's what
Oh
Ted Bundy did.
gosh. Ugh.
And he's like so absolutely, I mean, the end of it with him saying no regrets, because
Yeah.
it was interesting the way Bob was talking to him. He's like, so you regret that, you the way that you handled the knife, but you don't have any regrets of what you did. And he's like, no. no regrets.
He regrets that he got caught. He regrets
He
that he made
regrets that he
a
got
silly
caught.
mistake and that he got caught.
Yeah, but the way that he said it was just like,
Yeah, it just
you
like you
you
believe him.
believe it.
Yeah, oh, wow. Jinx.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my gosh,
And
Brandon
that's so
can't
funny that
talk.
we went to the same spot there because a lot of times it's just a lot of bravado, right? But no, he was like calm and measured and like he meant that shit.
He meant it and knew that he was staring at the rest of his life in prison.
Yeah.
And he still was like, no regrets. No
Yeah, but he
regrets.
wasn't as much of a badass as that as to say, like, yeah, fine, put the needle in my arm. He was scared of that, you know?
I mean, I'm not convinced that he was scared of it. I think he wanted his crimes to be known. I think he wanted people to know what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's was the biggest takeaway for me was during those interviews, he just like I just feel like with Ted Bundy and I've listened to so many tapes with Gary Ridgway when I did the Shadow Girls, and there was just this things that they wouldn't talk about and things that they tried to get away from, and then they would say it. But like with him, it's like he really wanted the world to know what he did.
Right.
I really got that sense
Like he was
of
he was proud of it.
The Disney Plus Hulu Max bundle. It's the ultimate bundle for an unbelievable price. Plans starting at $16.99 a month. Get it and watch Marvel Television's Ironheart on Disney Plus.
I want to build something iconic.
A new season of The Bear on Hulu.
We can make people happy.
And The Epic, a Minecraft movie on Max.
Anything you can imagine is possible.
The Disney Plus Hulu Max bundle. Plans starting at $16.99 a month. All these and more streaming soon. Terms apply. Visit DisneyPlusHuluMaxBundle.com for details.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Lights, camera, innovation. Walt Disney Studios chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform the movie-making process. Together, we kept a remote production hub in Hawaii and sync with a team in California to bring Lilo and Stitch to theaters this summer. This is picture-perfect collaboration. This is Walt Disney Studios with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that he really like manufactured this belief system that he was the wolf, and he wanted to be special, and he created this to do what he wanted. I mean that really resonated in terms of like it really felt like delusions of grandeur, but totally sane, but just like created this like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I, again, I always go back, not always, but I often go back to the familiar refrain was he ever diagnosed with any kind of mental disease or personality disorder, or
I don't know.
lycanthropy. That old diagnosis, lycanthropy, about becoming a werewolf, or thoughts.
Werewolf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Like, did any of that ever? I'm sure he
I,
was I mean, he must have
I
spoken to a
think he
bunch of
was,
different mental health experts.
well, like, I think that he was probably really quiet and flew under the radar. And he
Yeah.
was just somebody that people
No, no, no.
didn't
Forgive me. I'm
to.
saying post arrest, like going into trial, because if someone's even going to be eligible for the death penalty, they have to make sure you're mentally competent and all that kind of.
I think it happened so fast, Brandon. He copped to it like
Oh,
really
right away.
quickly.
Right. So he probably
And
never
so
even,
that whole process doesn't
yeah, just
happen.
it's moot. Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, he's just in prison. You know, he's still alive, to
Yeah.
my knowledge, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, I haven't done any checkup recently or anything, but
Okay.
it's just, yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's move on now to something ripped from the headlines. Uh,
Right.
the Karen Reed verdict. Go.
Yeah. What did you think?
I saw it coming, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure a lot of people did. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think they were ever going to get a conviction on her. And I think, yeah, my opinion, justice was served, just in terms of the evidence, and you went through two trials, right? Two trials without a conviction. So I don't think you could really argue that either side didn't really get their bite at the apple. And
Mm-hmm.
and a jury of her peers twice failed to convict. So I'd say, the people have spoken, and let's move on. And then, looking back at the evidence, and the way that you covered the case and my reading of it, geez, I'm pro cop. I got family members that are in law enforcement, but I think that this was just, a boys club of cops trying to cover for each other. That's what I think.
Well, and it's really like sad for John O'Keefe
Of
because
course
it's
it
like
is.
he
Yeah.
really never got, the investigation that he deserved.
Yep. That's the
You know,
tragedy of it. Yep.
that's the
Definitely.
tragedy of it. And then, justice for John doesn't mean that Karen Reed should go, be put away for murder
Right.
for something she didn't do.
Yep.
They weren't
Absolutely.
able to prove their case.
Yep.
And I think the larger story here is too, like, why it hit people so hard. This case really polarized, you know, people into these camps of like, you know, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
they got to
What were
get their
those
shit together
camps? Because
here.
it wasn't, what were those two camps? Because it wasn't really along like political lines. It wasn't like red and blue, was it?
I mean, I don't know what the line was. I feel when I hear people and pundits talking about it and they say, you're either pro Karen or pro O'Keefe, and I feel like either you think she did it or you think she didn't do it. And I think that,
Right.
Karen Reed, if she's been called very unlikable. She in her documentaries, you know, um, I think that you either like her or you don't. You either believe she did it or you don't, you know?
Well, see, those
And
are two different things, right? And I think you just nailed something right there. It shouldn't be you either like her or you don't, right? I
right,
think
the evidence.
that's where it went. You
Yeah.
know, it
Yeah.
should be about where do the facts lead you. But a lot of people either, wrongly like her and think she's innocent, or wrongly dislike her and think she's not. You know,
hmm
and those
Yeah,
are the
yeah,
wrong
I don't
reasons.
fall into that camp. What I fall into is the fact that they did not have the evidence, and between the detective who was like fired and didn't wasn't even in the second trial because they just didn't even want to, he was so toxic and so clearly corrupt in terms of just how you want to be treated as a potential suspect.
Yeah.
Like his texts and everything that he said about her person. I mean, it's like nobody can forget that.
Yep.
And then, the
That
fact
was.
that the cops weren't interviewed in that house and they didn't even do a search of the house.
Yep.
It's like, I think that that's really for most people, setting aside how you may feel about her personally, and of course, wanting justice for John O'Keefe, who did not deserve this, whatever happened to him. like that could be any of us.
Yeah.
You know, in that situation, you know what I mean? And so then, you know, they thought she was just gonna, you know, go away quietly.
Well,
And she had the resources and family backing her and then the
sure.
community backing her. But like a lot of people don't have that luxury, you
Here's where
know?
I think it all, for me, where it all kind of ended. When you mentioned that cop who was sending those vile texts about her. Okay. But hidden in that, and not really hidden in that, what was, I think, really kind of woven in that line of questioning brilliantly was getting this officer to admit to a disgusting rush to judgment, right? And you're saying within some ridiculously short amount of time, within like 2 hours or whatever, it's like, we got her, it's done, blah, 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 right? Before they'd even interviewed anybody or even gone in the house or even gone into anywhere.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They never went into the house.
No,
They
they
never
didn't do anything.
interviewed
Among the
anyone in
cops,
the house.
among the cops, it was open and shut. Okay. And that reeks of malfeasance, that reeks of cover up. Or, I mean, and even if it was, I see, and I could be guilty of a rush to judgment right here also. But when I see that, those words coming out of the mouth of a detective, of people who are supposed to like take their time, the kind of cops that we want on the job that are going to run out every ground ball and every rabbit and just figure everything out. And within hours, he's like, no, we got it. Come on. It stinks.
Yeah.
Stinks.
Yeah. And then in this trial, that was another thing where it's like the prosecutor pulls out John O'Keefe's sweatshirt and there's holes in it and somehow implies, now I didn't watch the trial, I've just, you know, read about it, but implies that the holes were there because he was hit by the car. But the holes were there, and of course the defense immediately calls bullshit on that because the holes were there because of the forensic tech was like put the holes in there to do evidence, you know, to do testing.
Yes.
And so it's like, again, misleading,
Absolutely.
you know, making it, you know, so you can't do that. That's why there's a higher standard that because when you're
or there should be.
There absolutely should be because when you're potentially putting someone away for the rest or for 15 years, if she would have gotten convicted of second-degree murder, that's 15 years, you know, before she can come up for parole.
Yep.
And it's like they didn't even prove that this was second-degree murder.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep.
So I feel like it's and she still has to deal with
a civil suit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is another, you know, stress and like, you know.
Yep.
So.
But, you know, no jail.
No jail.
No jail. And so.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, if she truly is innocent, the last however many years, the stress, how many sleepless nights, like, I mean, yeah, I'm sure she's like happy that, but like with her family and, you know, John O'Keefe's family feeling like they got screwed over. And it's like, you know.
Yeah, so sorry for, you know, I mean, we grieve and mourn the victim. But according to how our justice system works, great. At least there isn't another person victimized by this. An innocent woman, you know, won't be kind of railroaded or convicted of something she didn't do. And so acquitted by a jury of her peers.
Yep.
There we go.
There we go.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you for listening, Nation. Share this episode with a friend if you liked it. Go over to Apple Podcasts, rate and review. Let us know what you think about the Karen Reed verdict. Let us know what you think about Spillman, the werewolf butcher. You can email the show at info@evocreative.com. We love hearing from you. So don't be shy. And Carolyn, anything you'd like to add?
Nope. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe out there.
Bye.
From Pie in the Sky Media, Criminal Mischief is an EVO production, recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself. Music by Soundstripe. For EVO Creative, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.